What's going on, YouTube Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to do with you guys. This is the CRKT, or Columbia River Knife and Tool Tighe 2 in the drop point variant. There is actually a Tanto variant. This is the drop point. This knife was actually donated to the channel by my good buddy Fraser77 on Instagram. Really nice guy. He and I talked a while back, and I appreciate it. He's lent knives to the channel before, so I think that's really cool. Thank you so much for donating this. As usual, generally when people donate to the channel, I'll never ever ask for it. It's always appreciated. I tend to find a way to reciprocate and give back to my viewers and the knife community by doing some sort of giveaway. So that's probably what I'll do with this knife. But I haven't figured out in exactly what form yet. So we'll figure that out. As usual, this will not affect my thoughts on the review. I will definitely still give my honest opinion on the knife. So let's go ahead and move forward here. If I didn't say already, this is a knife designed by Mr. Brian Tighe, who is a very prominent name in the knife world right now. Overall length from tip to scale coming in at exactly 8 inches. From tip to the end of the scale, the overall length is 8 inches. From tip to scale on the blade, you're looking at about 3.5, maybe 3.4 in some places. The actual cutting edge is exactly 3 1/4. There's not quite a forward choil on there. It's definitely a more of a sharpening choil that's keeping the blade from being any longer, or the cutting edge from any longer. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1. Rat 1 coming in at 8.6 inches overall. So you can see it looks like a small knife, but it's not really a small knife. It's just more of a slender knife. How about up against the Spyderco PM2? Spyderco PM2 coming in at 8.3 inches overall. How about up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue? Ritter Hogue coming in at 8 inches overall. Very good size comparison there. You can see what I mean about it being a slender knife. They're the same length. The CRKT Tighe 2 just has a more slender profile. Tighe 2 is fun to say. Tighe 2 Tanto is even more fun to say. So I feel like that might be part of the marketing behind that, is that people are like, Tighe 2 Tanto, I want that, or whatever. I just found that funny. It's just as fun to say as this knife is fun to play with. We'll get to fidget factor on this guy. How about up against the Spyderco Para 3? Ugh, had to readjust my hands there. Couldn't demonstrate my awesome flicking skills. The Para 3 coming in at 7 1/4 inches overall. Let me give you guys an example of the action, which is one of the best qualities on this knife. This is a button lock. It has an absolutely drop shut action. The flipper tab is very easy to manipulate. It's running on bearings, super smooth, easy to deploy with the thumb, easy to deploy with the middle finger. This is a super fidgety knife. It's so fun to play with and so well tuned. Oh, that's the best thing about button locks, is they make these kinds of knives fun to play with. Really, really cool. How about the weight on this guy? Just so you guys know, we are not working with G10. We're looking at, what on earth? We're looking at fiberglass reinforced nylon, or FRN, but it does have some reinforcement in here. It's got countersunk steel liners that go, I think, that goes the entire length of the knife. So not my favorite handle material, but at least there's some liners under there. Overall weight on this guy coming in at 3.35 ounces. How about on this side? 3.35 ounces. Those of you who just subscribe to the whole ounce and inch thing on the blade versus the weight, this is a good weight. Good weight, good carry profile. It's not going to bother anybody. These knives are offered by Columbia River Knife and Tool. CRKT is CRKT is definitely in a better place than like SOG or Gerber. I know Gerber's trying to make a comeback, but as far as right now, I think you guys kind of understand what I'm saying. I think people kind of like them about as much as some of the Chinese Kershaws. They make some good knives. They've got kind of an issue with not putting not putting steel on their knives that people really like for right now. CRKT has a reputation for making some dependable cutting tools. While not the highest quality in the entire world, they have actually kind of dipped their toes into a few more premium knives here recently, and they've got this interesting deadbolt lock. They're going after fidget factor and strength at the same time. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people do like it. I think it's interesting. I think it's a good idea when companies dip their toes into new things. You know, it's never good to just be like, nope, I'm going to stay exactly the same way. You know, it's that way of thinking will eventually kill things off. You know, yeah, you don't have to fix what isn't broken, but at some point, if you don't try to change things, people will lose interest. That's the way that it is. So I'm speaking in generalities, but that's to keep people from flaming out my comment section. But yeah, I think CRKT has definitely made some good stuff. So what we're looking at here is a drop point style blade. It almost looks like a clip point, you know, but we've got this flat area up here, just goes straight down to the tip. And then there's a swedge up here. This is 8CR13 MOV, not made in the United States. I think it'll actually say, no, it won't say on there. I believe these are made in China. They could be Taiwan. I can't remember, and I didn't bring the box down here with me. In any case, it's not made in the United States. We have a satin finish on here that looks pretty good. The edge is also nice and sharp, and it's sharpened correctly. It doesn't feel like there's any flaws in the edge. There's no issues with symmetry, so that's nice. You also have really, really nice thumb studs. That's a simple, functional thumb stud. Thank you for not trying to do something weird. It works. I don't mind CRKT's logo on the front. This is a little bit much. Tighe tack, trademark 2, Tighe design, and then some number down here. You know, can we make it smaller or can we move it backwards? It's just, it's not as cool to have it all over the blade. Anyways, moving on. Oh, there's no jimping up top, which I find kind of odd. The jimping on this knife's not 100% necessary, but it would be nice. You can kind of pinch lock in back here. It makes me a little bit nervous choking up on the blade. This is definitely not a knife that you want to be choking up on. You will definitely cut the meat of your index finger if you're going to do that. Moving on to the scales, like I said, we're looking at FRN. There is some interesting machine work all the way around. It looks like it might be sharp. It's not sharp at all. It's nicely rounded. This machine work continues down the blade. I think did I just move my camera a little bit? I think I did. Let's move it back a little bit. It continues down the blade in the shape of kind of a lightning bolt. It's interesting. It's interesting to look at. It kind of reminds me of that painting with the stairs going in all different directions, and it kind of messes with your head. Kind of. There is definitely a divot here. It's not an optical illusion. There actually is a point there, but it does sort of create an optical illusion as you turn this knife around. It's interesting to look at. You do unfortunately have the little teeny tiny Torx heads that I don't like, but there's only 2 of them and they're holding in standoffs, so at least the standoff design is something that I like. The button is very simple. It is sitting proud enough of the scale that it's very easy to find without looking. It functions perfectly. Just the right amount of pressure will release the blade, and you know, it's nice. I appreciate that. You can deploy it with the button, you can deploy it with the flipper, you can deploy it with the thumb stud, and you can deploy it with the thumb stud on the other side. Once you get good at it, it is super fun to play with. This knife is so fun to play with. I can't stop. Every time I pick it up, I'm constantly flicking it out and clicking it back in. It's just fun. I will say this about the handle. This creates a slight ergonomic problem, or just an ergonomic annoyance for me. This area up here before the first drop isn't quite big enough for 2 fingers, but if I move my fingers down and get this finger behind that hump, this area up here just feels like way too roomy and weird and uncomfortable, and then this pinky falls off the edge. So if they really needed to do that, they should have just brought this down a little bit more so the average person could get both fingers up there. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's just something, and when you wrap your fingers around it, you're going to go, yeah, I'm aware of that. Moving on here, we do have a lanyard hole that you can easily get some 550 through. We have a pillar construction design, which I always appreciate. It's very easy to clean out. Some nice, like Rick Hinder style XM24 standoffs. They've just been shrunk down a little bit. It's a pretty standard standoff design. Very solid though. I love that they've got the countersunk steel liners in there. It adds some additional rigidity to an otherwise, I don't want to say flimsy, but FRN by itself, I'd rather have some steel in there. That's why I don't like the lightweight Spyderco knives. Sorry, but that's the way that I feel about some of those. I realize some of Spyderco's knives that are FRN have steel liners, but like the lightweight Manix 2, I don't like that. Sorry. Pocket clip, nice deep carry design, and they have actually recessed the screws, so the screws aren't going to catch There is a little bit of a gap there between the bottom of where the pocket clip latches in and the scale, so that's a little bit of a gunk trap. I don't know that it's that big of a deal. It's just kind of ugly to look at. Whatever. The clip has nice retention, and it's definitely going to carry deep. The pivot, I didn't go over this. It's kind of a it looks like a I can't remember what kind of cross you call that, but that's the design on there, and then it's a standard Torx head pivot on both sides. I don't know if it's free spinning or if the pivot is D-shaped. I didn't take this apart, but worst case scenario, you need two Torx heads to adjust it. Really nice. You know, as far as blade play, surprisingly for it being a button lock, slight side to side, no up and down. Surprisingly, I imagine you probably could tighten that down. It's pretty common to have even up and down, just slight up and down blade play with a button lock. I don't know that the button lock was designed to be the most powerful, most dependable locking system in the entire world. Is this knife going to perform at regular EDC tasks that don't require a lot of force? Yes, it's going to be just fine. I don't think that that's going to come as any surprise to people. So if you buy this knife expecting it to be absolutely solid on lockup, I would say the same as a lot of button locks that I have experienced that are over $200. Don't expect it to have absolutely perfect lockup. Now, if it's wiggling all over the place and rattling, then yeah, you have a problem. That's not the case here. When I say slight, I mean slight. It's very slight. Could possibly be corrected by cranking on the pivot just a little bit. Like I said, the steel is 8CR 13 MOV. It's okay. I recommend the Spyderco Tenacious as the best first Spyderco for people, and it's 8CR 13 MOV, and it's almost $50. So it's all right. It's a stainless steel. It's not going to hold an edge forever. It's fairly well rounded. It's just you're going to need to sharpen it. It's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's definitely not the best thing in the world. I would have liked to see a different steel on this for the price, but that seems like the same story for just about every CRKT I've ever handled. This knife, for whatever reason, is on Blade HQ. Now, I'm sure, like a lot of knives, you can go on Amazon or you can go on eBay and probably find it for a little bit less. But as far as Blade HQ goes, a common retailer that we all use, it's $40 for the Tanto, and it's $45 for the Drop Point. I don't know why. That's weird to me. Either way, if it was $40, 40, 45, I think it's a little bit overpriced. I would have been a lot happier to see this knife at about 30, 32, maybe 35. But we're at that point now, it's like where I'm arguing where the price should be is narrow and narrower and narrower as you go down in price, in budget line. So it sounds kind of complainy. It's okay. There are definitely better knives out there. Like at $45, just the other day, I bought a Bestech Lion for $40, and that knife is bearings, a flipper, G10 and D2, and has steel liners, and has no blade play, and has an excellent, that knife, in my opinion, is head and shoulders over this one, and it's only $40. Now, it's splitting hairs because you're not spending a whole lot of money. It's just, all I'm saying is I think it's a little bit overpriced. You could say that about a lot of stuff. Everything could always cost a little bit less money. It's not that big of a deal. Overall, this thing's shining quality. Besides, the blade shape is a good functional design. Ergonomically, it's not my favorite thing in the whole world because of this area right here. It's not sharp. The pocket clip's good. There's a little teeny tiny bit of blade play, but that's to be expected with a button lock. The shining quality of this knife, the thing that gets it to stand out, is the fact that it is an inexpensive button lock flipper that runs on bearings that has one of the best fidget factors that I've ever felt. I love playing with this knife. I really, really love it. I would say, this puts me in a weird spot because it's like, can I honestly recommend this knife? So, there are a billion options for the budget world for a usable knife. I've got a ton of them. I'm going to put this knife on two playlists. I'm going to put it on my recommended knives playlist, and I'm also going to put it on cheap knives that I like. But I want to be clear about this. I'm not saying that this knife is functionally the best choice for the price range. I'm putting it on my recommended list because I think it's a unique option considering the price range. There's not a lot of other, super fidgety button lock style knives out there in this price range that are as fun to play with, at least in my experience, as this guy. And I think that's fun. A lot of people do buy knives for cutting tasks and because it's fun to play with. You know, this knife does not put you at any tactical advantage or any functional advantage over anything else that I've experienced that's good in this price range. It's decent enough and has decent enough materials, but it's fun to play with. That's cool, you know? And that is whether you like it or not, that's absolutely a factor with a lot of these manufacturers that are making knives nowadays. Is it fun to play with? Is it easy to deploy? Can we mix those things together in an aesthetically pleasing design that also functions as a knife? It's weird to think that all of that stuff sometimes comes first before, yeah, but does it cut? Yeah, that's crazy to think about, but sometimes it does. And sometimes the end result is ridiculous, and sometimes the end result is, hey, that's pretty cool. That works pretty well. So that's about it. That's about all I can say about this knife. It's neat. It's going to go on those 2 playlists. Like I said, this knife is probably going to be a giveaway knife. I haven't figured out exactly how I'm going to do that. But if you're not subscribed to my channel, I would suggest subscribing and turning notifications on and setting them to all so that you are aware when I do giveaways, because I do lots of giveaways on this channel. I really like giving knives away. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, then please subscribe to my channel because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.